When we think about medieval castles, we associate them with being owned by incredibly wealthy men and women, and even the royalty. Castles today, such as the Tower of London, are still even owned by the monarchy, but there was one castle that was owned by a man who did not wish to live inside of it. He wished instead to become a Hollywood actor. Warwick Castle is one of England's greatest, with its imposing huge towers and network of beautiful state rooms. It's a place where even the Queen once ate inside of the Great Hall, but the castle almost bankrupted the Earl, who wished to leave Warwick for a career in the movies. Today we look at the castle owned by a Hollywood actor, and remember to support our channel. Please make sure to subscribe. Originally, a wooden fort was built at Warwick Castle during 1068, following the Norman Conquest. Today it's a beautiful stone structure, and much was built during the 12th century, with the shift from wood to stone to make a more permanent fortification. It was changed much over time. For example, during the 100 Years' War, it was refortified and was even used as a stronghold for centuries later. It became the seat of the Earl of Warwick, and one of the most famous inhabitants of the castle was Richard Neville, also known as Warwick the Kingmaker. He held a substantial amount of power during the Wars of the Roses, and whoever he supported was backed up by this wealth and military might. The Kingmaker later switched allegiances during the conflict and was killed during the Battle of Barnet, but he even imprisoned the King of England inside of Warwick Castle. Edward IV, following a battle, was imprisoned inside of the fortification, and it was shown to have been a castle primarily used for military might. After his death, the castle transitioned into the Plantagenet family's ownership, and Richard III even ordered the creation of 2 new gun towers. The dungeons inside of the castle, in particular the oubliette, gained notoriety as a horrific place to be inside of. The oubliette at Warwick was even known across the continent and was feared by the French during the 100 Years' War, who feared being thrown down the hole in the ground and simply forgotten. Warwick Castle continued to transition into a huge impenetrable fortress, but during the reign of Elizabeth I, it was noted that the castle was falling into a state of disrepair. In 1601, it came under the ownership of Sir Fulk Greville, and it is the Greville family who owned the castle for centuries. During their time owning it, it began to transition from its use as a military castle to become more of a country stately home, in which the wealthy and the rich of society would come and visit at the weekends to party. The Grevilles carried out huge renovations, and the state rooms began to become visited by prime ministers, wealthy landowners, and even kings and queens. As the advent of tourism arrived in Britain, even Queen Victoria visited, and it became an incredibly popular place to come and see. Charles Guy Fulk Greville was born in 1911 and was the eldest son of Leopold Greville, the 6th Earl of Warwick. His grandparents were Francis Greville, the 5th Earl, and Daisy Greville, the Countess of Warwick. Charles studied at Eton before succeeding to the earldom at the age of 16 in January 1928, following the death of his father, and he became the 7th Earl of Warwick. However, despite owning the huge castle with tourists flocking to visit by the thousands each year, he sought a different career. In the 1920s and 30s, many British actors dreamed of working in the booming American film industry, and in 1936, Charles Greville became the first member of the British aristocracy to be offered a job by a Hollywood agent, and he received £200 a year and was given a secretary by MGM. It was suggested in the newspapers that his career in the American film industry was motivated by seedy means, and he didn't need to work, and referred to his wages as simply pocket money. He went under the stage name Michael Brook to turn his back on his aristocratic background, but he was then dropped by MGM. He became the highest profile Englishman in Hollywood and became a celebrity, being labelled the Duke of Hollywood, or humorously was referred to as Warwick the Filmmaker. He went on to have a lead role in a film with Errol Flynn and David Niven. However, his movie career never took off as he wished. With the Second World War, he returned home, opening the castle to evacuees from Coventry, which suffered heavy bombing. It was even believed that Rudolf Hess may have been kept prisoner inside of the castle during his transportation to London after his failed flight and peace mission. He became a member of the House of Lords and was described as one of Britain's richest men. However, it's clear that possibly things were not as they seemed. He and his family began to sell off many of the family's possessions and estates, including inside of Warwick. The armour collection in the castle was sold, and Charles left England to avoid income tax, living in Italy. In 1967, he then handed his family's estate, Warwick Castle, over to his son, who then 11 years later sold the castle to Madame Tussauds, which caused outrage. The issue was that the castle was causing too many issues with regards to the amount of money needed to maintain it. The castle hung over the Earls of Warwick for a number of years, and the sheer amount of money to maintain it and also keep it heated, open and running was bankrupting a number of them. Warwick Castle was a castle once owned by a Hollywood actor. However, even he, who was seen as a star in America, could not afford its upkeep. All of the money Charles Greville was earning was being spent in the castle to keep it running. Today, Warwick Castle is a place of much beauty, intimidating towers and spectacular rooms. Once again, thanks for watching. To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe, and once again, thank you so much for watching.